Imagine taking the freedom of an electric bicycle and combining it with the comfort of a tiny vintage camper. What you're looking at is a fascinating micro-camper concept that takes the idea of mobile living to an entirely different level. It looks like a miniature retro travel trailer, but instead of being pulled by a car or truck, it is connected directly to a compact bicycle. The result is an incredibly unusual combination of transportation, camping, and tiny home design. The first thing that catches your attention is the shape. This camper has a distinctive rounded front and a curved roof that gives it a classic vintage trailer appearance. The body is finished in a soft green color with horizontal ribbed panels running across the exterior. Red and brown accent stripes add another layer of retro styling, while the cream-colored trim around the door, windows, and wheel arches creates a strong contrast. Unlike a conventional camper, this one is extremely compact. The entire design appears to focus on providing the basic comforts of a tiny home while keeping the overall footprint as small as possible. That makes it especially interesting for cyclists, minimalist travelers, campers, and anyone who wants to explore without depending on a large vehicle. At the front, we can see the bicycle that provides the motive power. It has a compact frame, a wide saddle, and unusually large tires. The thick tires give the bike a sturdy appearance and could be useful on different surfaces, although the actual performance would depend heavily on the weight of the camper, gearing, brakes, motor assistance, and road conditions. The connection between the bicycle and camper is one of the most important parts of the entire concept. A real version would need a carefully engineered hitch and frame connection capable of handling the trailer's weight while still allowing the bicycle to turn and maneuver safely. Stability would also be critical, especially during braking, cornering, downhill riding, or strong crosswinds. The bicycle itself appears to have a compact electric bike-inspired design. If equipped with a suitable electric motor and battery, electric assistance could make a concept like this much more practical. Pedaling alone while pulling a camper would become extremely demanding on hills and over long distances, so an electric drivetrain could provide additional power when needed. Moving to the camper itself, the side profile reveals a surprisingly interesting layout. There is a large rectangular window toward the rear section, allowing natural light into the interior. Another tall, narrow window is integrated into the door, giving the cabin additional light and visibility. The door is especially attractive because it continues the vintage theme. It has a rounded upper section and a simple classic handle. The cream-colored border makes it stand out against the green body, while the compact dimensions help preserve the tiny camper aesthetic. Above the front section, there is another horizontal window or ventilation opening. This could potentially help with airflow and natural lighting. In a practical tiny camper, ventilation would be extremely important because a small enclosed cabin can become warm and humid very quickly. Proper windows, roof vents, and airflow would make the interior much more comfortable. The exterior also includes small marker lights near the front and rear. These details make the camper look more like a road-going trailer, although any real production version would need to comply with the appropriate local lighting, visibility, braking, and road safety regulations. Now let's talk about the wheels. The camper rides on two relatively compact wheels positioned toward the rear. The wheels appear to use a sturdy design, while the wheel arches are integrated smoothly into the body. Keeping the camper low to the ground helps lower the center of gravity, which can be beneficial for stability. At the same time, ground clearance would need to be carefully considered if the camper were used on uneven roads or trails. The lower exterior also appears to have a durable dark-colored section underneath the body. This area would be particularly important in a real camper because it would be exposed to road dirt, water, stones, and debris. But the real question is, what could you actually fit inside such a tiny camper? That depends entirely on the final dimensions and interior layout, but the concept could potentially provide a compact sleeping area, storage cabinets, a small sitting space, and basic camping equipment. The philosophy would be completely different from a traditional RV. Instead of having a full kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and living room, every component would need to serve multiple purposes. For example, a bench could transform into a bed. Storage could be built underneath the sleeping platform. Shelves could be installed above eye level, while small cabinets could make use of otherwise unused corners. A folding table could provide a place for eating or working and then disappear when it isn't needed. This is where tiny home engineering becomes really interesting. When you only have a few square meters of interior space, every centimeter matters. The camper could potentially use a compact electrical system powered by a small battery and possibly solar panels. LED lighting would consume very little energy, while USB charging ports could keep phones and other small devices powered during a trip. A compact ventilation system could improve airflow, and lightweight cooking equipment could provide basic meal preparation. Water would be another major consideration. A tiny camper like this would probably require a small freshwater container rather than a large onboard tank. If a sink were included, water conservation would become essential. The same principle applies to waste management. Everything would have to be designed around limited capacity and minimal weight. And that brings us to one of the biggest challenges of this entire concept: weight. The camper might look small, but once you add the structure, windows, doors, furniture, battery, water, equipment, and personal belongings, the total weight can increase very quickly. For a human-powered bicycle, even a small increase in weight can make a dramatic difference.